The glass shattered against the wall just inches from Blake Keller's head, spraying beer and jagged shards across the dimly lit corner of the rusty nail. He didn't flinch, not because he was fearless, but because he was too exhausted to react. 3 double shifts at the warehouse, a broken-down car, and his daughter Lily's upcoming school tuition payment had left him numb to everything except the constant weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. "I said no," a woman's voice cut through the din of the Friday night crowd, firm despite its quiet delivery. Blake turned to see a slender brunette backing away from a red-faced man in an expensive suit. Her posture was defensive but dignified, like royalty forced to deal with a peasant uprising. "Come on, sweetheart," the suit slurred, reaching for her arm. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Blake sighed, glancing longingly at his half-finished beer, the one drink he'd allowed himself this week. He should walk away. This wasn't his problem. Lily was waiting at Mrs. Peterson's, and he was already paying extra for the late babysitting. But something in the woman's eyes, a flash of genuine fear beneath her composed exterior, made him set down his glass. "The lady said no," Blake said, stepping between them. At 6'2", with shoulders broadened by years of manual labor, he created an effective barrier. Time to find somewhere else to be. The suit sized him up, taking in Blake's worn jeans and faded flannel shirt. "Mind your own business, working class." "This is between me and between you and nobody," Blake interrupted. "She's not interested. Walk away while you can still walk." Blake wasn't a violent man. He couldn't afford to be, with an 8-year-old daughter depending on him, but he knew how to stand his ground. The hardness in his eyes must have conveyed this, because the suit eventually backed off, muttering threats about lawsuits and connections. "Thank you," the woman said once the man had retreated to the bar. "You didn't have to do that." Up close, Blake noticed her eyes were a deep, intelligent green, and despite her simple black dress, there was something distinctly out of place about her in this neighborhood dive bar. "No problem," he replied, turning to leave. "Have a good night." "Wait," she called after him. "At least let me buy you a drink." Blake hesitated. "I appreciate it, but I've got to get home to my daughter. Babysitter's on the clock." Something softened in the woman's expression. "I understand. I'm Sophia, by the way, Sophia Novak." "Blake Keller," he replied, surprised by the firm handshake she offered. "Take care, Sophia." As he walked out into the cool autumn night, Blake pushed the encounter from his mind. Women like that, polished, confident, clearly successful, didn't exist in his world of overtime shifts and discount grocery stores. By the time he reached Mrs. Peterson's apartment to collect a sleeping Lily, Sophia Novak was just another fleeting interaction in a long day. What Blake couldn't know was that Sophia watched him leave, her mind already working through possibilities and calculations with the same precision that had built her $3.2 billion tech empire. She pulled out her phone and made a quick call. "Marcus, I need everything you can find on a Blake Keller. Lives locally, has a daughter, probably works manual labor." She paused. "No, not a potential acquisition, just research." Across town, Blake carried his sleeping daughter from the car to their small apartment, careful not to wake her as he navigated the broken porch step he kept meaning to fix. As he tucked her into bed, Lily stirred briefly. "Did you have fun tonight, Daddy?" she murmured, half asleep. Blake smiled, brushing her sandy blonde hair away from her face hair just like her mother's had been. "Just a quiet night, Lilybug, nothing special." But he was wrong. For both Blake and Sophia, everything had just changed. The next morning, Blake woke to Lily jumping on his bed, her energy inversely proportional to how much sleep he'd gotten. "Daddy, it's Saturday. You promised pancakes and the park," she announced, already dressed in mismatched clothes she'd picked out herself. Blake groaned but couldn't help smiling. At 8 years old, Lily was the spitting image of her mother. Jennifer had been gone for 3 years now, cancer taking her quickly and leaving Blake to figure out how to be both parents at once. "I did promise that, didn't I?" he said, sitting up and grabbing Lily mid-bounce to tickle her sides. Her giggles were worth every exhausted moment. Pancakes it is. Their apartment was small, a two-bedroom unit in a building that had seen better decades, but Blake worked hard to make it a home. Photos of Lily covered the refrigerator alongside her artwork and school achievements. The furniture was second-hand but clean, and the bookshelf overflowed with library books. While mixing pancake batter, Blake checked his bank account on his phone and winced. Lily's after-school program had increased its rates, and the check engine light in his aging Toyota wasn't something he could ignore much longer. The warehouse paid decently, but never enough to get ahead, just enough to keep from falling further behind. "Can we have chocolate chips in them?" Lily asked, climbing onto a kitchen chair. "We're out, Lilybug, but I've got bananas we can slice up." Lily wrinkled her nose but nodded solemnly. "That's okay, we need to eat healthy anyway." The maturity in her statement made Blake's chest ache. She was growing up too fast, already understanding sacrifices and compromise in ways no 8-year-old should. "Tell you what," he said on impulse. "After the park, we'll stop for ice cream, my treat." Her face lit up, and for a moment, Blake forgot about the bills waiting to be paid. After breakfast, they headed to the neighborhood park. It wasn't much, just some aging play equipment and a small field, but to Lily, it was an adventure kingdom. Blake pushed her on the swings, admiring how high she could go now without getting scared. "Higher, Daddy. I want to touch the clouds." Blake obliged, pushing a little harder while keeping a careful eye on her grip. "Hold tight, astronaut Lily." He was so focused on his daughter that he didn't notice the woman watching them from a nearby bench until Lily's swing slowed and she jumped off to run to the slide. "Fancy meeting you here," a familiar voice said. Blake turned to find Sophia Novak walking toward him, dressed in jeans and a simple white blouse that somehow looked more expensive than his entire wardrobe. Her hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, but she carried herself with the same poise he'd noticed the night before. "You following me?" he asked, only half joking. She laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Would you believe coincidence? I live nearby and was out for a morning walk." Blake raised an eyebrow skeptically. The Rusty Nail wasn't in a neighborhood where people out for morning walks typically lived. Sophia gestured toward Lily, who was now climbing the jungle gym. "Your daughter is beautiful. What's her name?" "Lily," Blake answered, his eyes never leaving his child for long. "She's 8. She has your smile," Sophia observed. Blake felt an unexpected lump in his throat. "Everyone says she looks just like her mom." "And where is her mom today?" Sophia asked, her tone casual. "Cemetery over on Oakwood Drive," Blake replied bluntly. "Cancer 3 years ago." Sophia's composure faltered. "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have." "It's fine," Blake interrupted. "You couldn't have known." He watched Lily wave from the top of the slide. "We're doing okay, the two of us." Sophia nodded, following his gaze to Lily. "She seems like a remarkable child." "She is," Blake agreed, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "Smart as a whip. Teacher says she's reading 2 grade levels ahead." "Daddy," Lily called, running over. "Who are you talking to?" Blake put a hand on her shoulder. "This is Sophia. She's a friend I met last night." Lily scrutinized Sophia with the direct curiosity only children can get away with. "You're pretty. Are you Daddy's girlfriend?" "Lily," Blake felt his face heat up. "That's not we just met." Sophia crouched down to Lily's level, unfazed. "It's nice to meet you, Lily. And no, I'm not your dad's girlfriend, just someone who thinks he's a very kind person." Lily considered this, then nodded. "He is. He's the best daddy in the world." "I believe that," Sophia said seriously. Blake cleared his throat, uncomfortable with both the praise and the way Sophia was looking at him like she was solving a puzzle. "We should get going. Ice cream awaits." "Ice cream?" Sophia's eyes brightened. "Mind if I join you, my treat." Blake started to refuse, but Lily was already bouncing with excitement. "Can she, Daddy, please?" Looking between his daughter's hopeful face and Sophia's expectant one, Blake surrendered. "Sure, why not?" At the small ice cream parlor 2 blocks away, Blake watched with bemused concern as Lily chattered away to Sophia. sharing details about school, her best friend Emma, and how she wanted to be a veterinarian or maybe an astronaut or possibly both. So the animals can go to space too. Sophia asked seriously, making Lily giggle. Only if they want to, Lily explained, chocolate ice cream smeared across her cheek. Blake reached over with a napkin to wipe it away, an automatic gesture he'd performed hundreds of times. When he looked up, Sophia was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite identify. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," she replied. "It's just nice to see a father so attentive." Blake shrugged. "It's just what you do." "Not everyone," Sophia said quietly, then turned back to Lily. "So what's your favorite subject in school?" "Reading. I'm reading chapter books now. Daddy takes me to the library every week." The conversation continued, and Blake found himself gradually relaxing. Sophia spoke to Lily like a person, not in the condescending way some adults addressed children. She listened to his daughter's stories with genuine interest and asked thoughtful questions. When they finished their ice cream, Blake checked his watch. "We should head back. I've got some work to catch up on this afternoon." "On Saturday?" Sophia asked. "Bills don't pay themselves," Blake replied, then immediately regretted the edge in his voice. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "No, I understand," Sophia said quickly. "Life doesn't stop for weekends." Outside the ice cream shop, Lily gave Sophia an unexpected hug. "Will we see you again?" Blake started to intervene. He didn't want Lily getting attached to someone who would disappear, but Sophia answered before he could. "I hope so, if that's okay with your dad." Both females turned expectant eyes on Blake, who felt cornered in the most disarming way. "Maybe," he conceded, which Lily took as a definite yes, judging by her grin. "Here," Sophia said, handing him a business card. "My number, in case you want to continue our conversation sometime." Blake glanced at the card, expecting to see a company name or title. Instead, it simply read, Sophia Novak, followed by a phone number. No indication of who she was or what she did. "Thanks," he said, tucking it into his pocket. "We should go," Sophia nodded. "It was lovely meeting you, Lily. Goodbye, Blake." As they walked home, Lily skipped ahead, then turned to walk backward, facing her father. "I like her, Daddy. She listens really good." "Really well," Blake corrected automatically. "And yes, she seems nice." "You should call her," Lily declared with 8-year-old certainty. "You need more friends. Mrs. Peterson says you work too hard." Blake laughed. "Oh, Mrs. Peterson said that, did she? What else does Mrs. Peterson say about me?" Lily pondered this seriously. "She says you're a good man who deserves some happiness." The simple statement caught Blake off guard. Was that how people saw him? A good man, yes, but one in need of happiness. He'd been so focused on surviving, on making sure Lily had what she needed, that he'd stopped thinking about what he might want for himself. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Blake found himself looking at Sophia's business card again. There was something about her, a warmth beneath the polished exterior, a genuineness in how she'd spoken to Lily that intrigued him. Before he could talk himself out of it, he sent a text. "Thanks for the ice cream today. Lily hasn't stopped talking about you. This is Blake, by the way." The response came almost immediately. "I enjoyed it too. Your daughter is wonderful. Free for coffee sometime." Blake stared at the message. Coffee meant daytime, casual, not a date, just two adults having a conversation. "Tuesday, 10 a.m., he suggested, knowing he had the morning off before his shift. "Perfect. Lighthouse Cafe on 4th. They have the best scones in town." Blake had never been to the Lighthouse Cafe. It was in the upscale part of town, where he rarely ventured, but he agreed. What harm could coffee do? What he didn't know was that across town, Sophia was sitting in her home office, surrounded by 3 computer screens showing various aspects of Blake Keller's life, his work history. His financial struggles since his wife's illness and death, his perfect record as a father. The research wasn't about manipulation. It was about understanding, because Sophia Novak hadn't built Novak Tech Solutions by chance. She understood people, systems, problems, and something told her that Blake Keller was someone worth knowing, someone genuine in a world where authenticity was her most valued and rarest commodity. Tuesday came faster than Blake expected. He dropped Lily at school with an extra tight hug, then drove to the Lighthouse Cafe, feeling increasingly out of place as the neighborhoods became more manicured. The cafe itself was housed in a renovated Victorian building with large windows and an actual lighthouse model rotating slowly on the roof. Blake parked his battered Toyota between a Mercedes and a Tesla, already regretting his decision. Inside, the cafe was bright and airy, with exposed brick walls and tables made from reclaimed wood. Blake scanned the room, half expecting Sophia to have canceled, but she waved from a corner table, looking completely at home in the upscale environment. "You found it," she said as he approached. "Hard to miss the lighthouse," Blake replied, taking the seat across from her. "Subtle," Sophia laughed. "The owner has a thing for maritime history. The coffee makes up for the kitsch." A server appeared immediately. "Miss Novak, your usual?" "Yes, thank you, David." "And whatever my friend would like." Blake ordered a simple black coffee, resisting the temptation of the pastry case he'd passed on the way in. When the server left, Blake raised an eyebrow. "You come here often enough to have a usual?" Sophia shrugged. "It's close to my office." "And what office is that?" Blake asked, realizing how little he knew about her. "What do you do, Sophia Novak?" She hesitated, just long enough for Blake to notice. "I work in technology, software development mainly." "That explains why you were at the Rusty Nail," Blake said dryly. "All the tech people hang out there." Sophia smiled. "I like to explore different neighborhoods. You learn more about a city that way." Their drinks arrived: a simple black coffee for Blake and an elaborate latte creation for Sophia, accompanied by a scone that David set between them with 2 plates. "I thought we could share," Sophia explained. "They're too big for one person." Blake nodded, oddly touched by the gesture. It wasn't charity, it was sharing, something normal friends did. "So," Sophia began, breaking the scone in half, "tell me more about you and Lily." Over the next hour, Blake found himself talking more than he had in years. He told Sophia about meeting Jennifer in high school, their small wedding right after college, their dreams of a big family. How they'd bought a house they could barely afford, believing their incomes would grow. How Jennifer's diagnosis had come just after Lily's 5th birthday, and how quickly everything had unraveled after that. "The medical bills took everything," Blake explained, staring into his second cup of coffee. "The house, our savings, even cashed out our retirement accounts. After she died, I sold what was left and moved us into the apartment, started over." "That must have been incredibly difficult," Sophia said softly. Blake shrugged. "You do what you have to do. Lily needed stability, so I focused on that." "And what about you? What do you need?" The question caught Blake off guard. "I need to make sure my daughter has a good life. That's enough." Sophia studied him for a moment. "You know, it's possible to take care of her and still have something for yourself." "Says the woman with the fancy tech job," Blake replied, then immediately regretted his tone. "Sorry, that was unfair." "No, you're right," Sophia said. "I have advantages you don't, but that doesn't make your needs any less important." Blake checked his watch. "I should go. Shift starts at 1. Sophia nodded. "Thanks for meeting me. I enjoyed talking with you." "Me too," Blake admitted, surprised to find it was true. Despite their obviously different lives, conversation with Sophia was easy. "Maybe we could do it again sometime." "I'd like that," she replied. "Or perhaps dinner." "I make a mean lasagna." Blake hesitated. Dinner felt more significant than coffee. "You could bring Lily," Sophia added, sensing his reservation. "My place has a decent backyard, nothing fancy but room to run around." The mention of Lily made the invitation feel safer somehow. "Sure." "That sounds nice." They exchanged a slightly awkward goodbye, and Blake headed to his car, wondering what exactly was happening. He hadn't spent social time with a woman since Jennifer died, hadn't had the time or energy for it. But Sophia was different. She didn't seem to want anything from him. which was refreshing in a world that constantly demanded more than he could give. As he drove to work, Blake didn't notice the sleek black car that pulled away from the cafe shortly after he left, nor would he have recognized the distinguished older man in the driver's seat as Marcus Chen, Sophia's chief of security and most trusted advisor. "Well?" Sophia asked from the passenger seat. "Nothing concerning in the background check," Marcus replied. "He's exactly what he appears to be, a hard-working single father who's had a rough few years. The only red flag might be how clean his record is, not even a parking ticket." Sophia smiled. "Some people are just good, Marcus." "If you say so," he replied skeptically. "Are you going to tell him who you are before this goes any further?" Sophia looked out the window, watching Blake's Toyota turn onto the highway. "Soon, when the time is right," Marcus sighed. "Just be careful, Sophia. People change when they find out what you're worth." "Not everyone," Sophia replied, but there was a hint of uncertainty in her voice that even she couldn't ignore. 2 days later, Blake was halfway through his shift when his supervisor called him into the office. His first thought was panic had something happened to Lily, but Mr. Daniels' expression wasn't grave enough for bad news. "Got a call about you," Mr. Daniels said, leaning back in his chair. "From Westside Tech Park." Blake frowned. "Westside Tech? I don't know anyone there." "Well, someone there knows you. They're looking to fill a facilities management position. Better hours, better pay, full benefits. They asked for you specifically." "That doesn't make sense," Blake said, confusion mounting. "I didn't apply for anything." Mr. Daniels shrugged. "Maybe someone recommended you. You're one of my best workers, Keller. I'd hate to lose you, but it would be stupid not to check it out." He handed Blake a business card. "Call this number. They're expecting to hear from you." Back on the warehouse floor, Blake turned the card over in his hands. Westside Tech Park housed dozens of tech companies, including some major players. A facilities management job there would mean regular hours, probably better pay, and most importantly benefits that would cover Lily's asthma medications that currently ate up a sizable chunk of his income. But he hadn't applied, which meant someone had pulled strings, and the only person in the tech world he knew was. Blake pulled out his phone and called Sophia. "Did you do this?" he asked when she answered, not bothering with hello. "Do what?" she replied, sounding genuinely confused. "I just got called into my supervisor's office. Apparently, Westside Tech Park wants to interview me for a job I never applied for." There was a pause. "That's interesting." "Sophia," Blake said firmly, "did you have something to do with this?" She sighed. "I may have mentioned to a colleague that I knew someone with excellent maintenance skills and work ethic who might be looking for a better opportunity." Blake felt a complex mix of emotions: gratitude, embarrassment, and something that felt uncomfortably like anger. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity, Blake. It's networking. People do it all the time. People like you, maybe." "Yes, people like me," Sophia replied, an edge creeping into her voice. "People who recognize talent and try to connect it with opportunity. Whether you call or not is entirely up to you." Blake leaned against a stack of pallets, suddenly tired. "I can't figure you out. Why are you doing this?" Sophia's voice softened. "Because I like you, Blake, and because everyone deserves a break sometimes, that's all." They were silent for a moment, both processing the conversation. "The lasagna offer still stands," Sophia finally said. "Friday night, no strings, no job talk, just dinner." Blake looked at the business card in his hand. "Okay, Friday, text me your address." "I will, and Blake, I'm sorry if I overstepped." After they hung up, Blake stared at both cards, the Westside Tech contact and Sophia's personal card. Part of him wanted to throw them both away, to return to the simple if difficult life he'd carved out for himself and Lily. But another part, the part that lay awake worrying about college funds and medical bills, urged him to at least explore the possibility. That night, after Lily was asleep, Blake called the number. The interview was set for Thursday morning. When Friday evening arrived, Blake found himself standing outside a townhouse in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods, Lily fidgeting beside him. "Is this the right place?" she asked, wide-eyed at the elegant building. Blake double-checked the address Sophia had texted. "Looks like it." He rang the doorbell, half expecting a butler to answer. Instead, Sophia opened the door herself, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her feet bare. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun and there was a smudge of flour on her cheek. "You made it," she said, smiling broadly. Come in, come in." The lasagna's almost ready." Lily darted past them both, drawn by the delicious smells coming from the kitchen. Blake followed more slowly, taking in the surroundings. The townhouse was beautiful but not ostentatious, tastefully decorated with comfortable-looking furniture and walls lined with bookshelves. "This is nice," Blake said inadequately. Sophia smiled. "Thank you, it's home." The kitchen was large and modern, with a center island where Sophia had laid out ingredients for a salad. Lily was already perched on a bar stool, watching with fascination as Sophia checked something in the oven. "Can I help?" Lily asked eagerly. "Absolutely," Sophia replied. "How are you with salad tossing?" While Lily and Sophia prepared the salad, Blake wandered into the adjoining living room, drawn to the wall of photographs. Most were of landscapes or cities: Tokyo, Paris, Cape Town, according to the small labels underneath. But there were also photos of Sophia with various people, many in what looked like office settings. "You've traveled a lot," Blake observed when Sophia came to stand beside him. "For work, mostly," she replied. "Never enough time to really experience the places." Blake pointed to a photo of Sophia with an older couple who shared her features. "Family, my parents," she confirmed. "They live in Florida now, semi-retired." "What did they do?" Sophia hesitated. "My father was in finance, Mom was a teacher." There was something in her tone that made Blake suspect there was more to the story, but before he could ask, the oven timer beeped. Dinner was surprisingly relaxed. The lasagna was indeed excellent, and Sophia had made garlic bread that Lily declared was even better than the restaurant's. Conversation flowed easily, with Lily chattering about school and Sophia asking thoughtful questions that showed she'd been paying attention to the little girl's interests. "So," Sophia said, as they moved to the living room with dessert, a simple but delicious tiramisu. "How did the interview go?" Blake glanced at Lily, who was engrossed in a book she'd found on one of Sophia's shelves. "It went well. Too well, honestly." "What does that mean?" "It means they offered me the job on the spot. Higher salary than I expected, full benefits, regular hours Monday through Friday." Sophia beamed. "That's wonderful. When do you start?" "I didn't accept yet," Blake admitted. "Told them I needed to think about it." Sophia's smile faltered. "May I ask why? It sounds perfect." Blake sighed, setting down his dessert plate, "because it feels too perfect, like someone greased the wheels." "Would that be so terrible?" Sophia asked quietly. "If someone recognized your worth and wanted to help." "It depends on why they're helping," Blake replied, holding her gaze. "I still don't understand your interest in us, Sophia." She looked away. "I told you I like you." "Both of you," she added, glancing at Lily. "There are plenty of likable people in this city. You don't buy them all coffee and help them find jobs." Sophia was silent for a long moment. "When we met at that bar, you didn't hesitate to help me. You didn't want anything in return." "Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world?" "What world is that, exactly?" Blake pressed. "Because I'm starting to think software developer doesn't quite cover it." Lily looked up from her book, sensing the tension. "Daddy, is something wrong?" Blake forced a smile. "Nothing's wrong, Lilybug, just grown-up talk." Sophia stood suddenly. "Lily, would you like to see something cool? I have a little garden on the rooftop terrace. There are fairy lights." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Can I, Daddy?" Blake nodded, and Sophia led Lily up a spiral staircase, leaving Blake alone with his thoughts. He wandered back to the wall of photos, looking more carefully this time. In several of the office pictures, Sophia was central, often shaking hands with people who looked important, with banners or signs visible in the background. One photo in particular caught his eye. Sophia in a formal dress, receiving an award. The caption underneath read, Sophia Novak, CEO of Novak Tech Solutions, receives Innovator of the Year Award. CEO, not software developer. CEO of a company Blake had definitely heard of. Novak Tech Solutions was a major player in cloud security infrastructure, the kind of company that made headlines. When Sophia returned with Lily a few minutes later, her expression told him she knew what he'd discovered. Lily, Blake said, keeping his voice calm, it's getting late, we should head home. But Daddy, no arguments, please. Say thank you to Miss Novak for dinner. Lily's shoulders slumped, but she obediently thanked Sophia, who crouched down for a hug. I had a wonderful time with you, Lily. I hope you can visit again soon. At the door, Blake turned to Sophia. I'll call you, he said, his tone making it clear that their next conversation would be private. Sophia nodded, understanding. Drive safely. The ride home was quiet, with Lily half asleep in the back seat. Blake's mind raced with questions and recriminations. Why hadn't Sophia been honest from the start? What did the CEO of a major tech company want with a warehouse worker and his daughter? Was the job offer legitimate, or just her pulling strings? After putting Lily to bed, Blake looked up Novak Tech Solutions. The company was valued at over $3 billion. Sophia had founded it 12 years ago and had grown it into one of the most respected names in cybersecurity. Every article described her as brilliant, driven, and intensely private. That last part explained something, at least. A woman that wealthy and successful would have reasons to be cautious about who knew her identity. But it didn't explain her interest in him. Blake called her the next morning. I need to understand what's happening here, he said when she answered. I know, Sophia replied. Can we meet? Somewhere private. They agreed on a quiet park halfway between their neighborhoods. When Blake arrived, Sophia was already there, sitting on a bench overlooking a small pond. She wore sunglasses and a baseball cap, looking more like someone avoiding recognition than the confident woman he'd come to know. CEO of Novak Tech Solutions, Blake said as he sat beside her. That's a significant detail to leave out. Sophia removed her sunglasses, meeting his eyes directly. I'm sorry for not being completely honest. My position makes normal relationships complicated. And is that what we have? A relationship? I'd like to think we're becoming friends, at least, she replied. I don't have many of those real ones anyway. Blake laughed without humor. I find that hard to believe. Billionaires usually have plenty of friends. Sophia winced. I'm not, she stopped herself. Okay, technically, yes, but I don't think about it that way. How do you think about it? As responsibility, as a tool to create change. She turned to face him fully. Blake, from the moment we met, you've treated me like a person, not a bank account or a stepping stone. Do you have any idea how valuable that is? Blake considered this. So what, you're slumming it for the authentic experience? Poor people are so real. Sophia's face flushed. That's not fair. I never looked down on you. No, you just didn't trust me with the truth. They sat in tense silence, watching a family of ducks glide across the pond. The job is real, Sophia finally said. I asked a friend who runs a company at Westside if they had any openings that might fit your skills. I didn't donate money or threaten anyone. I just made an introduction. What happened after that was based on your qualifications. Blake wanted to stay angry, but the fight was draining out of him. Why go to the trouble? Sophia looked down at her hands. Because I like you, Blake. And because I saw how hard you work, how much you love your daughter, how you put everyone else first. I thought you deserved a break. I don't need saving, Blake insisted, but his voice had lost its edge. Everyone needs help sometimes, Sophia replied softly. Even me. Something in her tone made Blake look at her more carefully. Behind the wealth and success, he glimpsed a loneliness that matched his own. So where does this leave us? He asked. Sophia shrugged. That's up to you. If you want nothing more to do with me, I'll understand. But I'd like a chance to start over. Honestly, this time. Blake thought about Lily's face lighting up when Sophia talked to her, about the ease of their conversations, about the way Sophia looked at him like what he had to say mattered. "Take the job," Sophia urged. "Not for me, for Lily." "For yourself," Blake sighed. "I already called them this morning. I start Monday." A smile broke across Sophia's face. "Really? That's wonderful." "It's a good opportunity," Blake acknowledged. "And you're right, Lily deserves more stability than I've been able to give her." "She has an amazing father," Sophia said earnestly. "Don't forget that part." They sat quietly for a moment, the tension between them gradually easing. "So," Blake finally said, "Sophia Novak, CEO, I think we need a proper introduction." Sophia laughed, then held out her hand formally. "Hello, I'm Sophia Novak. I run a technology company. I'm pathologically unable to cook anything other than lasagna, and I'm very glad to know you and Lily." Blake shook her hand, smiling despite himself. Blake Keller. Single dad, soon-to-be facilities manager, terrible at accepting help but working on it. Their hands remained clasped a moment longer than necessary, and something shifted between them, a recognition of possibility. "Friends?" Sophia asked, hope evident in her voice. "Friends," Blake agreed. "For now." The "for now" hung in the air between them, full of questions neither was ready to ask. Blake started his new job the following Monday. The position was challenging, but satisfying. Managing the maintenance needs of the entire tech park meant varied work and problem-solving, skills Blake excelled at. The regular hours meant he could pick Lily up from school himself most days, and the salary increase allowed him to start a small savings account for the first time in years. Sophia kept her distance during those first few weeks, texting occasionally to ask how the job was going but clearly giving Blake space to adjust to their new understanding. It was Lily who finally prompted a reunion. "When are we going to see Sophia again?" she asked one evening as Blake helped her with homework. "I miss her." Blake realized with surprise that he missed her too. "I could invite her to your soccer game this weekend," he suggested, "if you'd like that." Lily's enthusiastic response settled it. Blake sent the invitation, and Sophia accepted immediately. Saturday morning found them at the community fields, Lily proudly wearing her team uniform, the Blue Dolphins, while Blake set up a folding chair on the sidelines. "Is this seat taken?" a familiar voice asked. Blake looked up to see Sophia standing there, casual in jeans and a Blue Dolphins t-shirt that matched Lily's. She held up a small cooler. "I brought orange slices and water bottles for the team. Is that still a thing?" Blake laughed. "Absolutely. You'll be the most popular person here." Sophia set up her chair beside his. "How's the new job?" "Good. Really good, actually. The hours alone make a huge difference for Lily." "And for you," Blake nodded. "For me too. I'd forgotten what it feels like not to be exhausted all the time." They watched as the girls ran drills before the game. Lily waved excitedly when she spotted Sophia, nearly getting hit with a ball in her distraction. "Eyes on the game, Lilybug," Blake called, and she turned back to practice with renewed focus. "She's really something," Sophia observed. "She is," Blake agreed, pride evident in his voice. "Jennifer would be so proud of her." Sophia hesitated, then asked, "What was she like, Jennifer?" Blake was surprised by the question but found he wanted to answer. "She was brilliant, funny, stubborn as hell." She taught third grade and knew exactly how to handle Lily's strong-headed moments because she was just the same way. "She sounds wonderful." "She was. She made me better." Blake glanced at Sophia. "It's okay to talk about her, you know. Some people get weird when I mention my late wife." "I'm not some people," Sophia replied simply. The referee's whistle blew, signaling the start of the game, and they turned their attention to the field. The Blue Dolphins weren't particularly skilled. Most of the girls were still learning the basics, but what they lacked in technique, they made up for in enthusiasm. When Lily managed to kick the ball in approximately the right direction, Sophia jumped up cheering as loudly as Blake did. By halftime, they were both hoarse from shouting encouragement, and Sophia's orange slices had indeed made her a team favorite. "So this is what normal people do on weekends," Sophia commented as they watched the girls huddle around their coach. "I like it." Blake raised an eyebrow. "What do billionaire CEOs usually do on weekends?" Sophia made a face. "Board meetings disguised as golf outings, charity galas where everyone's calculating how much everyone else donated, conference calls with international offices." "Sounds terrible," Blake said with mock sympathy. "It is," Sophia agreed seriously. "Do you know how long it's been since I just had fun, since I spent time with people who weren't trying to get something from me?" Blake considered this. "Is that why you didn't tell me who you were, afraid I'd start asking for startup funding?" Sophia smiled ruefully. "Something like that. My experience has been that people change when they find out what I'm worth. They either want something or treat me differently." "I'm still treating you differently," Blake pointed out. "I made you bring orange slices." Sophia laughed, a genuine sound that made several nearby parents turn to look. "Yes, you're really taking advantage." The second half of the game went much like the first, with more enthusiasm than skill on display. The Blue Dolphins lost 2-1, but Lily didn't seem bothered as she ran over to them afterward, sweaty and grinning. "Did you see me, Daddy? I almost scored." "You were amazing, Lilybug." Blake pulled her into a hug despite her grimy state. "You were the fastest one out there," Sophia added, holding out a water bottle. Lily beamed at the praise. "Can Sophia come for lunch, please?" Blake looked at Sophia questioningly. "We usually get pizza after games, nothing fancy." "I love pizza," Sophia said. "If I'm invited." "Yay." Lily cheered, then ran off to say goodbye to her teammates. At the pizza place, a family-friendly restaurant with mediocre food but an excellent arcade section, Lily inhaled her slices before begging for quarters for the games. "Just where we can see you," Blake reminded her, handing over a few dollars worth of quarters. Alone at the table, Blake and Sophia fell into easy conversation, discussing everything from books they'd recently read to the antics of Blake's coworkers. "I should tell you," Blake said during a pause. "I heard some rumors about you at work." Sophia stiffened slightly. "What kind of rumors?" "Apparently, the mysterious Sophia Novak rarely visits the tech park in person. Some of the longer-term employees have never even seen you." "You've acquired a somewhat mythical status." Sophia relaxed, laughing. "Ah, that. Yes, I prefer to work from my home office most days. Large groups make me uncomfortable." "The CEO of a major corporation is shy," Blake asked incredulously. "Not shy," Sophia corrected. "I just find most corporate interactions draining. I'm good at it when necessary, but it takes a toll." Blake watched as she absently folded a napkin into increasingly complex patterns. "You're full of contradictions, Sophia Novak." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Is that a bad thing?" "No," he replied honestly. "It's interesting." Something shifted in the air between them, a moment of connection that went beyond friendship. Blake found himself noticing details he'd overlooked before. The tiny freckle near her left eye, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when thinking, the slight upward curve of her lips even when she wasn't fully smiling. Sophia broke the gaze first, looking toward the arcade where Lily was triumphantly collecting tickets from a skee-ball machine. "She's going to clean them out of prizes at this rate." The moment passed, but something had changed. As they helped Lily count tickets and select prizes, a purple plastic ring, a bouncy ball, and a plush dolphin that matched her team mascot, Blake found himself wondering what it would be like to have more days like this, the three of them together, laughing and normal. When they parted in the parking lot, Sophia hesitated. "This was really fun." "It was," Blake agreed. "We should do it again sometime." "I'd like that." Sophia bent down to give Lily a hug. "Thanks for letting me cheer for you today, superstar." Lily hugged her back fiercely. "Will you come to my next game too? It's in 2 weeks." Sophia glanced at Blake, who nodded slightly. "I wouldn't miss it." Over the following month, Sophia became a regular fixture in their lives. She attended Lily's soccer games, joined them for movie nights at their apartment, expressing genuine delight at their modest but comfortable home, and once even helped Lily with a science project when Blake had to work late. For Blake, watching Sophia with his daughter revealed sides of her that magazine profiles and business articles never captured: her patience, her ability to explain complex concepts in child-friendly terms, her genuine joy in Lily's accomplishments. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Blake and Sophia sat on his small balcony, sharing a bottle of wine Sophia had brought. "Can I ask you something personal?" Blake said, turning his glass in his hands. "Of course. Why aren't you married, or with someone? You're successful, beautiful, kind." He trailed off, embarrassed by his directness. Sophia smiled at the compliment but considered the question seriously. "I've had relationships. They never lasted. Either they were intimidated by my success, or they were attracted to it for the wrong reasons. After a while, it seemed easier to focus on work." "That sounds lonely," Blake observed. "It can be," Sophia admitted. "What about you? It's been 3 years since Jennifer. Have you dated at all?" Blake shook his head. "Between work and Lily, there wasn't time, and honestly, I wasn't ready." It felt like a betrayal somehow. "And now?" Sophia asked quietly. Their eyes met in the dim light of the balcony. "Now I think Jennifer would want me to be happy, to find someone who could love both me and Lily." Sophia set down her glass. Blake, whatever she was about to say, was interrupted by Blake's phone ringing. It was Mrs. Peterson from the apartment downstairs, calling to say Lily was at her place, crying about a nightmare and asking for her dad. "I have to go," Blake said, already standing. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize," Sophia replied. "Go to your daughter." When he returned 20 minutes later, having settled Lily back into bed with extra assurances about monsters not being real, Sophia was gone. She'd left a note. "Had to go, early meeting tomorrow, talk soon, S." Blake couldn't help feeling that an important moment had slipped away. The next morning, he had a text from Sophia. "Sorry for the hasty exit. Would you like to have dinner sometime? Just the two of us. My treat." Blake stared at the message, understanding its significance. This would be a date, their first official acknowledgement that whatever was growing between them might be more than friendship. "I'd like that," he replied. "But let me cook for you this time. Friday night, I can ask Mrs. Peterson to watch Lily." Sophia's response came quickly. "Perfect. I'll bring dessert." For the next few days, Blake found himself unexpectedly nervous. He cleaned the apartment thoroughly, planned a menu of things he knew he could cook well, and even bought new dishes to replace his mismatched collection. When Friday arrived, Lily was delighted by the special sleepover with Mrs. Peterson, especially when Blake explained that he and Sophia were having grown-up time. "Are you going to kiss her?" Lily asked with the directness of an 8-year-old. Blake nearly dropped the pasta he was preparing. "That's not, we're just having dinner, Lily." "But you like her," Lily insisted. "And she likes you, I can tell." "It's complicated, Lilybug." Lily rolled her eyes with dramatic 8-year-old flair. "Grown-ups always say that when they're being silly." Blake couldn't argue with that logic. At exactly 7, Sophia arrived, wearing a simple green dress that brought out her eyes. She carried a small bakery box and a bottle of wine. "Hi," she said, suddenly seeming as nervous as Blake felt. "Hi," he replied, taking the items. "You look beautiful." Sophia smiled. "So do you." "I mean, you look nice. Not beautiful. Well, you could be beautiful, men can be." She stopped, laughing at herself. "I'm babbling." "It's charming," Blake assured her, leading the way to the kitchen. "Dinner's almost ready." They fell into easier conversation. As Blake finished preparing the meal, a simple but well-executed pasta dish with garlic bread and salad. Sophia sat at the counter, telling him about a project her company was working on that would help secure medical records for small hospitals. "You really care about the work," Blake observed as he plated their dinner. "It's not just about profit," Sophia nodded. "Technology should make life better, safer, especially for people who don't have resources to protect themselves." Over dinner, they talked about everything and nothing: favorite movies, childhood memories, dreams for the future. Blake found himself telling Sophia things he hadn't shared with anyone about his hopes for Lily, his fears of failing her, his occasional loneliness. "I think you're an incredible father," Sophia said sincerely. "Lily is so secure, so confident. That comes from knowing she's loved unconditionally." "She's easy to love," Blake replied. "The hard part is everything else, making sure there's enough money, enough time, enough of me to go around." Sophia reached across the table, touching his hand. "You don't have to do it all alone, you know." The simple contact sent warmth spreading through Blake's chest. "Are you offering to help?" "Maybe I am," Sophia said softly. "Would that be so terrible?" Blake turned his hand to hold hers properly. "Not terrible, scary maybe." "Scary how?" "Scary because I'm starting to care about you," Blake admitted. "A lot, and our worlds are so different." Sophia squeezed his hand. "Not as different as you think. We both value the same things: honesty, hard work, family." "You don't have a family," Blake pointed out. "Not yet," Sophia replied, her eyes never leaving his. The implications of that simple statement hung in the air between them. Blake found himself standing, pulling Sophia to her feet, their dinner forgotten. "I'm going to kiss you now," he said quietly. "If that's okay." Sophia's answer was to close the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened. Blake's arms wrapped around her waist, drawing her closer as years of dormant feelings awakened all at once. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Sophia smiled up at him. "That was." "Yeah," Blake agreed, his forehead resting against hers. "It was." They moved to the couch, the dessert Sophia had brought remaining untouched in the kitchen. For hours, they talked and kissed and talked some more, making up for lost time. "I should go," Sophia eventually said, though she made no move to leave the circle of Blake's arms. "Probably," Blake agreed, equally motionless. She laughed softly. "This feels like high school, making out on the couch, not wanting to say goodnight." "I never had this in high school," Blake admitted. "I was too shy." "Their loss," Sophia murmured, kissing him again. Eventually, responsibility won out. Blake walked Sophia to her car, their hands intertwined. "When can I see you again?" she asked. "Tomorrow," Blake suggested. "You could join us for Pancake Saturday. Lily would love it." Sophia's face lit up. "I'd love that too." One more lingering kiss, and she was gone, leaving Blake standing on the sidewalk with a smile he couldn't suppress. Pancake Saturday turned into a regular tradition. Soon, Sophia was spending most weekends with them at soccer games, helping with homework, joining them for movie nights. Blake marveled at how seamlessly she fit into their lives, and how much brighter everything seemed with her in it. For Sophia, the simple routines of family life were a revelation. Board game nights where winning actually mattered. Grocery shopping with Lily insisting on pushing the cart. Sunday afternoons in the park, these ordinary experiences filled a void she hadn't fully recognized. They weren't without challenges. The first time they were photographed together at a restaurant, tech billionaire Sophia Novak's mystery man. The caption read Blake had to field questions from curious coworkers. The disparity in their financial situations occasionally created awkward moments, like when Sophia casually suggested flying to New York for a weekend to see a Broadway show Lily had mentioned wanting to see. "We can't just hop on a plane, Sophia," Blake had explained gently. "That's not how our life works." "But I could, no," Blake interrupted firmly. "I appreciate your generosity, but I need to teach Lily the value of working toward goals, saving for special things." Sophia had nodded, understanding. "You're right, I'm sorry." Instead, she found more appropriate ways to enrich their lives' tickets to local theater productions, introducing Lily to coding through child-friendly apps, bringing over ingredients for cooking experiments that expanded their usual menu. 3 months into their relationship, Blake realized he was in love with Sophia Novak. The revelation came not during a dramatic moment, but while watching her help Lily untangle a knotted friendship bracelet, her head bent close to his daughter's, their voices soft as they worked through the problem together. It took another month for him to say the words. They were at Sophia's townhouse, Lily having a sleepover with a friend from school. After dinner, they sat on her rooftop garden, fairy lights twinkling around them. "I need to tell you something," Blake said, taking Sophia's hands in his. She looked at him expectantly, a hint of apprehension in her eyes. "Okay, I love you," he said simply. "I think I have for a while now." The smile that bloomed across Sophia's face was radiant. "I love you too, Blake, so much." Later, in the quiet darkness of Sophia's bedroom, they made love for the first time, discovering each other with tender curiosity. Afterward, lying in his arms, Sophia traced patterns on Blake's chest. "What are you thinking?" he asked, kissing her forehead. "That I never expected this," she replied honestly. "When I walked into that bar 6 months ago, I was just looking for a quiet drink after a stressful day. I never imagined I'd find everything." Blake tightened his arms around her. "Everything? You, Lily, family." Sophia raised herself on one elbow to look at him. "I've achieved more professionally than I ever dreamed possible, but this, what we have, it's what I didn't know I was missing." The following weeks were a blur of happiness. Blake introduced Sophia to his parents, who visited from Ohio, initially intimidated by her status, but quickly won over by her genuine interest in their lives. Sophia took Blake to her company's annual charity gala, proudly introducing him to colleagues and friends. "They're all staring," Blake muttered as they moved through the elegantly dressed crowd. "Because you're the most handsome man here," Sophia replied, squeezing his hand. "And because they've never seen me this happy." 6 months into their relationship, Blake was helping Lily with homework at their apartment when she asked a question that stopped him cold. "Daddy, why don't we live with Sophia? She has more room, and we're always there anyway." Blake set down the pencil he'd been using to help with math problems. "It's not that simple, Lilybug. Why not? You love her, and she loves us. Emma's mom moved in with her new boyfriend, and they haven't known each other as long as you and Sophia." Out of the mouths of babes, Blake thought. "Sophia and I haven't talked about that yet." Lily looked at him with exasperation. "Well, you should." That night, after Lily was asleep, Blake called Sophia. "Can you come over? I need to talk to you about something." 20 minutes later, Sophia was at his door, concern evident on her face. "Is everything okay? Is Lily all right?" "Everything's fine," Blake assured her, leading her to the couch. "Lily just asked me something today that got me thinking." He told her about their conversation, watching her face carefully. "She has a point. We practically live in each other's spaces already." Sophia's expression was unreadable. "What are you saying, Blake?" "I'm saying." He took a deep breath. "I'm saying that I love you and I want a life with you, but it needs to be our life, not me and Lily moving into your world." Sophia nodded slowly. "I understand that. So maybe we find a place together, something that's ours, not yours or mine, a fresh start." A smile spread across Sophia's face. "Are you asking me to move in with you?" "I'm asking if you want to build a home with us," Blake clarified. "A real home for all three of us." Sophia launched herself into his arms. "Yes, absolutely yes." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of house hunting. Sophia wanted to look in exclusive neighborhoods with private security. Blake insisted on staying near Lily's school and friends. They eventually compromised on a spacious, but not ostentatious house in a good school district, with a yard for Lily and a home office for Sophia. Blake insisted on contributing to the purchase, using his savings for the down payment. It was nowhere near what Sophia could afford, but she understood his need to be an equal partner and accepted his contribution with grace. Moving day arrived in early summer. Lily bounced with excitement as their belongings were unloaded into the new house, running from room to inspect every corner of her new home. "This is the best day ever," she declared, hugging both Blake and Sophia in turn. That evening, after Lily was asleep in her new bedroom decorated exactly as she'd requested, with star-patterned wallpaper and bookshelves for her growing collection, Blake, and Sophia sat on the back porch of their new home. "Happy?" Sophia asked, resting her head on his shoulder. "Completely," Blake replied, his arm around her waist. "You, more than I knew was possible." Sophia turned to face him. "I want you to know something. I've set up a trust for Lily's education. It won't activate until she's ready for college, and it's structured so that you maintain control over how it's used." Blake stiffened slightly. "Sophia, we talked about this. I know," she interrupted gently. "And I respect your desire to provide for her. This isn't about replacing your role. It's about me loving her too and wanting to secure her future in the way that I can." Blake considered this. "You really love her, don't you?" "As if she were my own," Sophia replied without hesitation. "Is that okay?" Instead of answering, Blake reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I had a whole speech planned. About how you came into our lives when we least expected it, how you love Lily as your own, how you've made us both happier than we've been in years." Sophia's eyes widened as he opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. "Blake, I love you, Sophia Novak. You're brilliant and kind and somehow both the most extraordinary and most normal person I've ever known. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks as she nodded. Yes, of course I will." Blake slipped the ring onto her finger. It was modest by her usual standards, but he'd saved for months to buy it, and Sophia looked at it like it was the most precious thing she'd ever owned. "I should warn you," she said, admiring how it caught the light. "The press will have a field day with this. Tech billionaire marries maintenance man and all that." Blake laughed. "First of all, I'm a facilities manager now, thank you very much. And second, let them talk. We know what we have." "We do," Sophia agreed, leaning in to kiss him. "A family." They decided on a small, private wedding 3 months later. Despite Sophia's wealth and connections, she wanted something intimate and meaningful rather than a society event. The ceremony took place in the backyard of their new home, with only close family and friends in attendance. Lily, serving as flower girl and best daughter, a title she had insisted on, was radiant in a blue dress that matched the flowers in Sophia's bouquet. Blake's parents and Sophia's flew in for the occasion, all initial reservations about their children's different backgrounds long forgotten. As they exchanged vows under a simple floral arch, Blake was struck by how perfect the moment was, not because of any extravagance, but because of its honesty. Sophia, in a sleek white dress that emphasized her natural beauty rather than designer prestige, had never looked more radiant. "I promise to love you and Lily every day," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "To build our family on trust and partnership. To remember always that the most valuable things in life aren't things at all." Blake's own vows were equally heartfelt. "I promise to stand beside you in all things, to be your partner in every sense of the word, to raise Lily with you, and to create a home filled with laughter and love. To remind you, whenever the world demands too much, that you always have a safe harbor with us." When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Lily cheered louder than anyone, rushing forward to hug them both. The photographer captured the moment perfectly, Blake and Sophia embracing with Lily between them, all 3 faces alight with joy. The reception that followed was simple but joyful, with good food, dancing, and genuine celebration. Sophia had arranged for Lily to have her own special first dance with both her father and her new stepmother, a moment that left few dry eyes among the guests. Later, as the party wound down, Sophia found Blake watching Lily, who had fallen asleep on a cushioned bench despite her determination to stay awake until the end. "What are you thinking?" Sophia asked, slipping her arm around his waist. "That I'm the luckiest man alive," Blake replied honestly. "And that Jennifer would approve." Sophia leaned her head against his shoulder. "I hope so." "I know so," Blake assured her. "She always wanted Lily to have a complete family, and now she does." Their honeymoon was a family affair, a week at a beachside cottage where they built sand castles with Lily collected shells and watched the sunset each evening. It wasn't the exotic luxury vacation Sophia's friends expected, but it was perfect for them. On their last night at the beach, with Lily asleep in her room, Blake and Sophia sat on the porch swing, listening to the waves. "I've been thinking," Sophia said, her fingers intertwined with Blake's, "about family." "Oh," Blake turned to look at her. "What would you think about expanding ours?" "Maybe giving Lily a brother or sister." Blake's expression softened. "Really? You want to have a baby?" Sophia nodded. "I always thought I'd be too busy, too focused on work. But being with you and Lily, it's changed what I want, what matters to me." Blake pulled her close, kissing her temple. "I think that would be wonderful. Lily's been asking for a sibling since she was 5. "Is that a yes?" Sophia asked, smiling. "That's a definite yes," Blake confirmed, his heart full. They decided to start trying right away, both aware that at 36, Sophia might have a more challenging time conceiving. The months that followed were a blend of hopeful anticipation and occasional disappointment, but they approached it as they did everything together, with honesty and mutual support. Their professional lives evolved alongside their personal journey. Sophia began delegating more responsibility at Novak Tech, reducing her hours to spend more time with her family. Blake excelled in his role at Westside, eventually being promoted to head of facilities for the entire complex. Lily thrived with her expanded family, blossoming academically and socially. She took to calling Sophia Mom about 6 months after the wedding, a development that moved Sophia to tears the first time she heard it. "Are you sure it's okay?" Sophia had asked Blake later that night, worried about dishonoring Jennifer's memory. "It's more than okay," Blake assured her. "It doesn't replace Jennifer, it just means Lily is lucky enough to have been loved by 2 amazing mothers." 9 months after their beach conversation, on a rainy spring morning, Sophia woke Blake with news that changed their lives once again. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, showing him the positive test. Their son, Ethan James Keller, arrived the following winter, a healthy, strong baby with his mother's green eyes and his father's determined chin. Lily approached her role as big sister with characteristic enthusiasm, reading to the baby, helping with diaper changes, and informing anyone who would listen that her brother was the cutest baby in the history of babies. Life settled into a new rhythm middle of the night feedings, baby milestones, the juggling act that all parents perform. Sophia took 6 months off from work, then returned part-time, determined to be present for her children while still leading her company. Blake sometimes marveled at how different their life was from what he'd imagined 4 years earlier, when he was a grieving widower, just trying to keep his head above water. Now, he had a partner who shared his values despite their different backgrounds, a daughter who was growing into a confident young person, and a son who represented their shared future. On Ethan's first birthday, after the party was over and both children were asleep, Blake and Sophia sat in the backyard of their home, reminiscing about how they'd met. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't gone into that bar that night?" Sophia asked. "Or if you hadn't stepped in to help me?" Blake considered this. "I think we would have found each other somehow, maybe not right away, but eventually." "That's very romantic," Sophia teased. "I didn't know you believed in fate." "Not fate," Blake clarified, pulling her closer. "Just that when something is this right, this meant to be, the universe finds a way." Sophia kissed him softly. "Well, I'm grateful it found a way for us." "Me too," Blake replied, looking at their home lights glowing in the children's rooms, photos of their blended family adorning the walls, toys scattered across the porch. "More than I can say." As they sat together in comfortable silence, Blake reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a chance encounter in a neighborhood bar to building a life together, their story wasn't about a struggling dad and a billionaire finding unlikely love. It was about 2 people who saw past labels and circumstances to recognize what they truly needed in each other: honesty partnership, and the courage to build something real. In the end, what made their love work wasn't grand gestures or financial security, though Sophia's resources certainly made many aspects of life easier. What mattered was the daily choice they each made to show up, to communicate, to put family first. When they finally went inside, Blake paused in the doorway of Lily's room, watching his daughter sleep peacefully, surrounded by books and soccer trophies. Next, they checked on Ethan, who was sprawled across his crib in the uninhibited sleep of toddlers everywhere. "We did good," Blake whispered as they closed the nursery door. Sophia leaned into him, her head fitting perfectly against his shoulder. "We're still doing good, every day." And that was the truth at the heart of their story. Not a fairy tale romance between unlikely worlds, but a real, enduring love built on respect, shared values, and the daily work of creating a family. A love that had begun with one simple act of kindness in a dimly lit bar and had grown into the most valuable thing either of them had ever known.